What's up, everybody? It's Evil Spectrum 3, and I wanted to talk about the situation here with Eggman. Ooh, look at that. I put the sound effect one on today. So, first off, I just want to quickly run down really quickly the fact that, we're talking about Diablo 3. It's December 12th, 2019. It's crazy that I've been playing Diablo 3 ever since the day it launched in May of 2012. I was in my really crappy Ford 98 Explorer that we had to buy when my other car broke down, and it was crazy. And I was just so pumped to be holding that game. I've shown you photos of that day. So the bottom line is I've been playing this game since day one. I've been through all the iterations of it and all the different things that have been going on. And potentially you may have seen my videos over the years, but I don't make a lot. I do so much else. I have a almost 70,000 subscriber channel based on completely different topics on a different YouTube, and I have all these other things that I do, and I don't get to do a lot of Diablo stuff constantly, so it's always kind of every once in a while I do a podcast or I talk about things, but I'm really trying hard to make it a weekly thing to get back to Diablo, because I played Diablo so much, and over the years I've played Diablo so much. So with that being said, I just wanted to weigh in on the Eggman thing. I know there's a lot of people who say, ban the guy right away. Good, he's banned, he's gone. I definitely agree that what he did as far as, leveling 5 characters to, or, being able to do a Greater Rift 150 solo with 5 different characters is a little wild in the season. It's a little ridiculous. After the first time you did it, the second time you do it, you got to be thinking, wow, I found an exact way to exploit this game. Streaming it is probably is the biggest mistake of all of it, right? Like, ideally what you'd want is a player that's a fan of Diablo 3. If you're actually a fan of Diablo 3, ideally you would think you would find the exploit. Maybe you'd even found the exploit live on your stream, but whatever the case is. If you were a committed player, I would think that when you found that, you would tell Blizzard, probably, to be honest. You'd probably hit them up and be like, yo, hey, I just found this crazy thing. This can't be right. You should take a look at this, and I can show you some other things. Give me a call. And then maybe you get in with Blizzard, and then you become friends with them, and they go to you. Maybe they'll give you something. Who knows? But even so, like, not that you'd want something in return of finding these things, but at least you'd be kind of on good terms with Diablo teams and Blizzard in general or whatever. But instead, Eggman streamed every time he did it. You know what I mean? And they're clearly very sensitive to the idea of streaming it or talking about it even in some ways. So I'm not even going to get into what it is, because everybody knows, and it doesn't matter now anyway, because they've fixed the bug. The bug has been fixed, so maybe it doesn't matter. We could talk about it, but I don't see the need to really talk about exactly what happened, because it just doesn't matter. What matters is you found something and whatever. And, his master account's been deleted. His main accounts has been deleted. All his World of Warcraft stuff is gone. All the other games that he ever played are gone. And yikes, man, that's rough. But again, what he did was so far to the blatant. He knew what he was doing. I think. I mean, he says he didn't really know. And he did do it a while back and is now being banned for it further down the line. The Twitch ban makes sense for a week, or the suspension for a week, or whatever he got, because, that's what Twitch does. But, I'm someone who's more forgiving. To me, like, I think that, you ban the guy. I would hate to be Blizzard, though, and have to go back on it and say, you know what? You're not banned anymore. You know what I mean? Never mind. We took it a little easier on you. You're banned for 6 months, or you're banned for 3 months, or you're whatever the case is. He would have to write some kind of letter or some kind of desperate video, I would think, to Blizzard, and some kind of an apology, or I don't know. He would have to do something. I would believe it'd have to be pretty heartfelt and pretty crazy, and maybe even get like community support for Blizzard to undo what they've done to him. I myself, if I was Blizzard, which I'm not, obviously, I myself would probably have banned him for 30 days, or I would have banned him for 30 days from everything. You're banned for 30 days. And I would have obviously banned this alt account. If this is his alt account, I would have erased his alt accounts. If this was an alt account, I would have banned his alt account for 30 days. I would ban his main accounts for 30 days from everything for 30 days. And potentially something like that. To be pretty serious, but to allow him back in. I guess that's what I would do. That's not what most people would do. Most people want this guy banned forever. I don't like forever. Finite stuff like forever to me is pretty crazy. Had he been doing this for longer, or, somebody who's known to want to exploit things. Now, maybe they know something I don't know, But if this is someone who's been known to exploit other things and is always doing these type of things, then yeah, maybe I'd be concerned. I believe he found another bug that was like this, similar, and he reported it, though. So, on one hand, he reported it. Maybe he felt like they didn't respond at all. So then he was like, all right, well, I found another thing. I'm going to use this one. This isn't exactly... and then some people say, well, it's not cheating because he didn't go use a program. He didn't go use some kind of thing. He just literally used their game and just did what's in their game. And what's in their game is in their game. How is it his fault? And I sort of get that, but at the same time, I don't know, man. People that develop games and that run games and that play games in communities of games like this take this stuff a lot more serious. You know what I mean? And I think if he hadn't streamed all of it, it might have been all right. And even if he had streamed one of them and been like, wow, this was crazy. Or what would have been even better, because let's say he wanted content, right? Let's say this guy wants content to get views or to stir up a big thing within communities. Why not complete the 150 like he did off air and then make a video about it and say, I have just discovered something insane in Diablo 3, and here's my ranking, here's the thing, and how I did it is anybody could do it, and there's something majorly wrong here, and I'm going to report it to Blizzard, but take a look at my 150 Rift and take a look at what I did. And he could have sort of showed it off with telling people about it without telling people how to do it or showing them how to do it. You know what I mean? He could have just done that, and I think that would have been respectable, because he's telling people about it, that it happened, and then explaining that he believes there's something wrong with the game, so don't do this. I'm going to have to tell Blizzard about this, and maybe I'll have to even get my rank, deleted or erased or rolled back. I don't know what I'm going to do, but, and I think that would have been respected by Blizzard, I believe. They'd have to tell me, But so, anyway, I'm not in favor of, perma bans unless we know this is a repetitive thing he always does. And he's doing this on other alt accounts that we don't know about even, or something like that. But if he legitimately thought, oh, maybe this is something you can do because this season's crazy, then, I'd be in favor of, banning him, 3 months if you wanted to go higher, 3 months, 6 months. But, taking away the guy's entire collection of everything ever is, for this, especially after he's already done it, is wow. It's pretty extreme. But hey, I don't know him. I heard he was a nice guy, but it was a stupid thing. I mean, it really was dumb. Anyway, I want to know what you guys have to say about it. Leave it down below. Some people were saying that this ruined the season for them. That's just crybaby stuff. That's crazy. How could this ruin the season for you? First of all, the rankings are already gone from the leaderboard. Second of all, who cares? Do you know how many people are cheating with macros and micro movements and manipulations of the coding and bots and the HUD stuff, all kinds of things. I'm just sitting here clicking my fingers and a mouse and a keyboard, and I'm dying over here. And there's people still using all these different key lock tricks and stuff like that. I don't use anything. You know what I mean? Part of it because I'm just too lazy to go look up stuff how to do it. And the second part is that I'd be paranoid that I'd lose my account for some reason. I just have fun playing the way I play. Now, about back in 2013, you know, I was like really into the idea of like running a bot or something in the background. I was really into that idea, and I didn't even understand that it was illegal back then. I didn't know there was a problem with that. I messed around with it just for fun, and then I found out that, you know, the program, if you run the program you were running, you would it'd be like against the terms of service. So I stopped. I was like, oh damn, and I stopped doing it, and I basically was like, I'm never gonna. It was nothing really. It was just like one of those lock programs or whatever, and I just was like, this is stupid. You know what I mean? Like, it's not fun to play the game that way. But then a lot of other people were doing that stuff, and they were probably making money because at the time I think the Real Money Auction House was active too. So they were probably having all these like bot farmers everywhere and things like that. But yeah, I would never want to. I just don't want to do any manipulation in the game because I don't want to. I would never want to lose my. I don't know what I would do if I ever lost a character or something like that. And it just is what it is. You know what I mean? We're into season 19 here. I'm almost Paragon 900 as a demon hunter. I have spent a lot of time also working on a monk. Almost said mount. As a monk, because of the Justice monk build that's so fast. One of my buddies ran it weeks ago, way before anybody was really talking about it. And he was like, "This is gonna be the fastest, you know, speed farm right now, other than, you know, because you can just blast through stuff." And I'm like, yeah, I guess you know, you might be right. And so after I got through Demon Hunter, I just started working on the monk. But there's so much more to work on this season for me. This is the longest. I don't usually play season for this long. I normally play season for 2 weeks, and then I come back. I go back to main. I go back to my main character, and I go back to the idea of looking for, you know, I want all primals. I want my character maxed out, man. I want my main character maxed out in primals. I care more about that than anything. I care more about the loot find for my main character to load him up with primals the best we can, or at least the top ancient. But, you know, because I know that Paragon's not really going to be a thing for me because I mostly play solo. So I mostly play solo. I don't have a ton of time. So with that being said, it's like I'd rather just try to search, hope I find some, some well-rolled primals, and that's about it. You know, Paragon is not that big for me on my main character because of that. But, you know, we'll see. I think I talked about everything. I'm going to have a video coming up later about Diablo 4. I've got so many ideas that I just want to brainstorm about how they could work on, you know, their the new system and the legendaries and the ancients, and they just came out with new stats. So I want to talk about this in a separate video, which I will have out soon. So if you have comments or questions or opinions about Diablo 4 and you know, the what could be in the game, you know, these are new. They write on the blog post. These are new stats that can appear as affixes, such as plus 15 angelic power. In addition to providing the above stated benefit, we want these new stats to also act as prerequisites for empowering certain other affixes. If you don't have enough specific power, you can still equip them, but you may not benefit from the affix linked to the power. Here are a couple of work-in-progress examples to better illustrate what these affixes do. Again, none of this is final and could change considerably. So, you know, you got your 1,448 defense, which defense goes to your main stat defense, and then your add-ons, instead of being more like dex and, you know, that type of stuff in Diablo 3, it's angelic power, 3% movement speed, plus 1 rank to devastation requires 50 demonic power, 25% cold resistance requires 40 angelic power. So you really got to rank up this angelic power for those stats to take place. one of the worries right now is that, we'll start getting into these stats and these powers, and it will end up being kind of like a set within an item. So you're having sets within an item, essentially creating sets again. So you're still sort of searching for the same thing, but it's just kind of in the background. But it's the same thing as a set, essentially. It's like a reverse of what kind of goes on now with, so it's just like, we're going to get into that. There's a whole bunch of stuff to talk about as far as that goes. I think that they really need to kind of have just so much randomness in the game. I don't think a lot of stuff should make sense. I think it would almost benefit now if there were just massive amounts of different things going on that you had to make sense of it. The problem one of the things you want to be really careful of, I gotta believe though, is that somebody doesn't find out the top build of everything and the 1 or 2 or 3 top builds of everything, because then eventually everybody will just kind of gear themselves to trying to find that build. And if you only have 1 or 2 or 3 builds, then you're really stuck in the same problem to me. But if you can have, hey, check out this build I've done, it's got me above these other ones and this other build. And if you can come up with hundreds of different builds, then you're on to something. Pretty much when you look at the leaderboard now of Diablo 3, let's say there's like 3 top builds for each class even, right? 3, 6, 9, 12, 15. You're talking about 20, let's say there's 20 to 25, even to 30 top builds in Diablo 3. Let's just go there. It's like ideally what you'd like Diablo 4 to be is there to just be this kind of sort of like hundreds, right? These hundreds of different builds. Like, what this guy has found is so unique. He's got a build that no one really else has, and it's very powerful. And this other person has this other sort of build, and it's so powerful too, but man, how would you ever find that stuff? And there's just hundreds of possibilities, but I don't know, like that needs to happen. This very open, broad amount of crazy builds need to happen. If that could happen, then you're good. But if you get stuck being like, okay, I've found these certain things, so now I know what I have to do. I have to create this, I have to create X build because I now know where I'm going. That is, that can be fun. I think it would be much funner if it was more open and more creative, I guess. Being creative is going to be a big thing, I think, or should be a big thing in Diablo 4. But again, I think that starting off, what I'd like to see is sort of the sets should start you kind of like the seasonal thing where you start your season, you want to get your set so you can help level yourself up to get to the next set, to get to the next thing you're looking for. So I'd be in favor of sets or set abilities kind of being the first thing you need to find in your character that can help you become powerful enough to get to the point where you need to farm and try to find these mega powerful things where you can really start to dive in and become creative. So in Diablo 4, what I would like to see is, it starts out kind of tough, and you're searching for these set items or you're searching for things that can help you right away. And eventually when you find those, you can they are more powerful than some of the basic stuff. But after the set items, the legendary and ancient primal, whatever the heck, I know they got rid of ancients actually, but the mythic stuff or primal, those type of things are so crazy that's where the really fun begins. Do you know what I mean? So maybe for your first, 20 days of the game or your first 400 hours of the game are really gearing up on set items and playing around with different sets and whatever else to use those. But then you're really using the set items to become more powerful so that you can begin to get into the mode of farming or creating or beating certain bosses maybe that are very tough. And maybe you need certain sets to beat certain bosses. And maybe certain bosses drop certain items or have different drop amounts. Maybe certain bosses have high drop rates from mythic items. So you want to go kill this crazy boss. But you need the set of, the set of will to beat this boss specifically, and you really need to roll a good set to beat him, and it's difficult, but his drop rates are higher. All these different things. So then you fight him with that set, but then you want to go back to farming, so you put on your farming set that you have, and you go back that way. And you're really working and grinding towards getting to the point where you can farm the more powerful stuff, to where things get really creative. So, in other words, I think the first 20% of the game should be kind of a fun, rewarding, upgrading grind that's easy for anybody to get into. And then the next level is getting sets so you can do certain things, and now it becomes more like Diablo 3. But after you've now grinded your ass off, maybe 100 to 400 hours with these sets that can always be used, by the way, too. You can always go back to the sets to grind or kill that monster again for the higher drop rate, maybe, or for the speed farming set that you have. But ultimately, mythic and legendaries are going to be more powerful than sets. So now you're rising to that next level. And so Endgame is the never-ending grind and discoverability and power, and that's the next level. And to me, that would be the sort of thing that I would want to see in Diablo 4. Essentially, the first 20% is a rewarding, fun, leveling up grind, and then there's a 30 or 40 or 50% of the game is this sort of finding sets, using the sets, speed farming sets, monster killer sets, things like that, sets that are specific to all these different fun activities. Certain dungeon sets where they buff your, magic, maybe, or magic find, or they buff speed, and you spend a lot of time doing that, kind of playing a Diablo 3-esque game for a little bit, but you really want to beat that, and you really want to find all the sets and master that part of the game so you can get to the fun part, the part that isn't in Diablo 3 and the part that isn't in some of these other games. And that's the part we're looking at right now, plus more. The idea that maybe primals could drop, or mythics could drop, or weird affix gems could drop that you can use. Maybe you have to find rare items, scrolls, in order to trade items. Maybe it's not just you can just trade. Maybe you have to have scrolls to trade things. And maybe it's super, super hard to find, like mega hard to find, but there's one scroll that drops that will allow you to trade any item. But it's super psychotically rare to find that. Like, most players have 1, 0, or maybe somebody has 2, but it's so super rare that you almost never see it. But as long as 2 players have the scroll, they can make a trade. They both lose their scrolls, but they can make a trade for anything. That sort of thing would be exciting to me. That makes it so valuable to trade. Like, dude, I found this scroll. I played the game for a year. I have 1 scroll. You played the game for a year. You have 1 scroll. I have this thing that you need badly. You have this thing that I need badly. We can make the trade. But you lose your scroll. And it is so super hard to find a scroll. I'm talking about scrolls are almost as hard, or as hard, maybe, as cosmic wings to drop. That type of deal. Things like that to me would be really exciting in the game. Assuming that trading would be that important, I don't know. These are all just things that I'm throwing out. I've got so many other ideas. One night I drew out a map of how everything could work, and I think, and maybe I'm completely off base here and you're just like, what is this guy talking about? This guy is insane. But I just think that the first 10 to 25 hours of the game being a complete, fun, uplifting, satisfying introduction to the game for new players and being pretty easy to figure out, but fun. And then again, like I said, the next maybe 100 hours to 200 hours is all about, finding those sets potentially maybe and gearing up your sets. And then not saying that mythics can't drop and not saying you can't find powerful things too while doing that. But ideally, you're gearing towards, your set items. But in the end, you don't have to do that. You could just try to grind with whatever you have. So you don't have to do that, but obviously you would. And then again, like I said, the rest of the game, 40% of the rest of the game, 50% of the rest of the game is all endgame, and it never ends. And not only does it never end, but that's where it becomes fun. You know what I mean? It's kind of like when you are a sports person or a game, you do something in life, right? When you become I want to be a football player, and you show up on training day or whatever, and they tell you, okay, get out on the field and run. And you run your ass off, and they never give you equipment. You're running, and you're trying out, and eventually you get the equipment, and then you're like, all right, are we going to do a scrimmage today? And no, they make you run and jump and drills and all these different things. And you're like, wow, this is not fun. This is a lot of hard work. I'm doing all this. I just want to play football. And then eventually they put you out, American football, and then eventually they put you out there, and you finally do get to play. And then that becomes very fun. I think that could be what it is. But the problem with that is, like a lot of people will say, is, well, you don't want the beginning. I just got logged out of Diablo. You don't want the beginning of the game to be boring where people get out. So, again, I'm not saying that. I'm saying make the game fun from the very beginning, but make it, imagine if you were playing Diablo 3 through the middle to beginning of your progression, but after you got those sets and you unlock this power, you would now start to begin farming and looking for these more powerful items. And in this case, rares. There may be rares that are more powerful than sets. So you may be like, well, I'm going to abandon my speed set or my farming set that I was using because I've found a few rares and legendaries at this point that will be more powerful and more important than the set items that I had. And the sets are mostly used to level up your character to, the top level or almost the top level. But all these other items have now unlocked. So essentially, it would be like playing Diablo 3 where levels 1 to 70 take longer, but you get set items earlier. So your goal is to reach 70, and once you reach 70, you're unlocking more powerful everything else. And now the sets kind of potentially mostly become obsolete. You really don't need sets as much. So now there's a sort of a progression there. But maybe you still can use sets, and it would be nice if the set pieces were maybe 2 apiece as well. And later on, you could maybe gem them, socket them, enchant them, or do something to them that, hey, I'm going to throw my set speed on top of my speed build that I have and be mega fast. And I'm going to use this for a certain speed farming route. But, I want to beat this really hard boss in a minute, so let me take that speed farming set off and let me put on my power set, or my powerful items, my legendary items that are better than the set. And so you're kind of always playing around with that. So, I don't know. I'm curious to what people think about this. I'm babbling on way longer than I expected to in this video. And that's about all I have to say. Thanks for listening. I'm going to sip my coffee and go back to grinding out some Paragon here. And I hope you guys have a good day. And just let me know down below what you think about it. And we'll see you later. Can't believe that it's been... Oh, man... 9 years almost of Diablo? I don't know what year we're on. You know what I miss was in May. You know what I mean? When they first released Diablo, it was May 2012. I miss when every year they would do like a little buff or something fun. So I hope that sometime the Diablo 3 Classic team or whoever is the small little team working on Diablo 3, which they've done a great job. The season's great. I think people should keep playing the hell out of this season. But I hope that the team... does something, You know, I look forward to that, and it hadn't really happened. They did it a couple times, and then they really kind of stopped doing it. You know, like throw some triple goblins out there, you know, for the weekend or for the week of the release of Diablo 3. You know, throw double goblins out, throw triple goblins out. You know, maybe do something else fun with the puzzle ring or with something else. I don't know. Just something. One of the things I don't know if they understand, the Diablo 3 people, a lot of people thrive on these fun, goofy, exciting things that happen. It really hooks people. My wife stopped playing this game mostly because they kind of nerfed a bunch of stuff. You know, there was less stuff to do in this game, but one thing was fun. Was, you know, sometimes when something is fun, they find it out and they take it out of the game, or they nerf it, or whatever the case is. And man, I'll tell you, that happened to my wife like you wouldn't believe. She was having fun doing it, and they took it out of the game, and it was just crazy. But yeah, lots of other people have dealt with things like that on Diablo, and I think the more you have to do, the better. And I'm hoping that someday, it's really greedy and crazy to think of this, but I hope someday in Diablo 3 they add something new, a little something new that's fun. They've already done it a million times. You know, they've already done a bunch of additions to a game that you would think they would never add stuff to. So they've already blown away expectations in this game as far as that goes. But I think it would be good for them to do it, and I think it helps keep them connected with the community before Diablo 4 gets out. So I think they've done a great job, though. I think the new team on Diablo 4 is great. I think Kim's been wonderful, and I think the classic team, the communication is just desperately wanted, and I think that they've done such a great job. You know, most of the time we come on and complain about different things, but I'm always going to be thinking we're always going to be thinking of things to complain about or ask for or hope for or want, but it's definitely important to just say that this team has crushed it. The Diablo 3 team their work, it can't be said, thank you can't be said enough for what they've done to keep this game where it is for the small, hardcore community of people. And I don't mean hardcore the game style, but I mean the people that are just still playing the hell out of this game, that have been playing it since day one, or even the last 3 years or 4 years or 5 years. But man, I've been playing this game since the day it launched, and I take breaks. Every once in a while, I leave for 3 months and I disappear or something. But mostly, at least once a week, I'm on Diablo 3 for the last 8 years. So pretty incredible stuff for them to do that. Anyway, I'm really out of here, guys. Leave it down below. Here's some other videos you might have missed where I talk about Diablo 3. Let me know what you think. Lots of comments if you can, but I don't know if a lot of people will see this video because I don't have the biggest Diablo 3 community right now because I've always been inconsistent with content on it. But share it around. Let me know what you think. Call me an idiot. Whatever you like. We'll see you next time.